And most successful companies share one thing: they develop their people. The Success Launch Point makes it simple with on demand courses, live coaching, and a thriving professional community. Your team will gain confidence, sharpen skills, and deliver more value while staying loyal to the company that invests in them. To take your workforce to the next level, check out modernobserver.com/launchpoint.
Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business, life, and career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Januszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic. We're starting to head into the holiday season and already seeing, Christmas decorations going up, music playing in the stores, and I can't believe we're that close to the end of 2025 already.
Absolutely. As I always say, especially my age, time flies when you're growing old. But
There you
uh,
go.
no, it's just amazing. I mean, we had Halloween a week and a half ago. Yesterday, I had a lot of fun. As a lot of you folks know, I have two really fun grandchildren. My oldest is going to be 6 uh, on December 9th, and my youngest is 4. And basically, we went to a birthday party yesterday for a 2-year-old of one of my son's friends. He still has a bunch of them from grade school. So to watch 3 different generations there, watching these kids grow up and then have kids and so on and so forth, it was just so much fun doing that yesterday. And really, that's what it's life is all about. And I think our guest has a little bit of something to say about that also. It looks like you've
Little
got a wonderful journey.
little bit. We have a very special guest this week. Rebecca Washington is with us. Rebecca is a licensed social worker, but she's not satisfied with just helping people. She's actually creating new tools and new ways to do it, including a workbook. She's working on a deck of cards to help therapists. So, Rebecca, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Eric. Hi, Chip. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Rebecca Washington. I am a social worker with a clinical license. I am a creative and compassionate human who just wants to make the world a better place, one person at a time. I'm a veteran of the Connecticut Army National Guard. I'm a self taught artist, a self published author, and the sister of 2 little sisters who are my pride and joy. So I am so happy to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. And of course, you're also the founder of Heart Space Art and Wellness. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm the creative empowerment officer. It's my spin on CEO of the Heart Space Art and Wellness, which is a company that was born out of my obtaining my mindfulness facilitation certificate from Copper Beach Institute. Um, it's my passion project in which I share opportunities to blend mindfulness and creativity together. I host mindful painting sessions where we allocate time to uh, participate in community in meditation and then block out at least 2 hours just for creative expression. I also host trainings, I host workshops, I educate on the benefits of mindfulness. And with my clinical license, I open the Heart Space Counseling, where I provide counseling services to folks. And my passion right now is working with people in recovery. And that's something that's very close to my heart.
So, how did you get involved working specifically with people in recovery?
Um, Long and short story. First and foremost, both my parents are in recovery. from substance use. So that is what drives a lot of my connection. I'm the oldest child, um, and I'm happy to say that my mother has 14 years clean and sober. She's my inspiration and my muse for working with people. Um, she's also in the mental health field, so she is just an amazing, strong, talented, educated woman. I look up to her so much. My dad had 4 years sober before his passing last year, and I share that to say that, the work that I do is very much driven from that lens. I came to work with people in recovery after I got my master's. There was a job opening at a treatment facility. I applied, and for 2 years, I worked very closely with people who were in very fragile and delicate times in their life, trying to get their life back on track, um, work through the things that had led them to addiction in the first place. And I was very honored to be a part of witnessing their journey and helping them on their healing journey. And so I said, "This is, I think, where I'm supposed to be right now." And it has been inspiring and fulfilling and heartbreaking all at the same time. And I just love every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's been a wonderful journey, and obviously going through it yourself, that's one thing, but, looking at your website and your personal journey, it's just so wonderful that you're just sharing it forward with a whole lot of people, and I'm sure that you find that once people sit down and get to know you, all of a sudden they relax and they open up and so on and so forth, and their journeys come out just like yours is that you're sharing, and, I mean, it's just so wonderful. Eric and I are both very familiar with Copper Beach. I was actually helped out with their gala events years ago when Brandon Nappy started the Mindfulness Institute there. And I know that you're an artist too, but I can't even draw a straight stick, man. But mindfulness is really, really something neat. And just being able to enjoy the Copper Beach tree there and walk around the labyrinth and everything else, it's just a beautiful practice. And you melding those two together, I'm sure you're probably bringing some artists out and people that don't even know that they had them in it. So tell us about a little bit about that. I'm sure you had some wonderful reactions over the years.
Yeah, and actually, I love bringing any opportunity to meld all these different things together. So when I was working in the treatment facility, uh, some things that I really love doing with group facilitation was encouraging the people utilizing our services to express themselves creatively. So we would make collages often, and I'd leave room for sharing and the things that would be revealed in just an hour of having time to sit and exist without so much pressure. Um, was really eye-opening because what I found was at the core, a lot of people just they have similar, um, wants and desires. Everyone loves their kids. Everyone loves food, right? Everyone loves their pets. Everyone had a passion for the work that they were doing. And so there was a lot of similarities there. In the mindful painting sessions, which aren't necessarily centered around um, recovery, but could be, we allocate at least 2 hours for creative expression after the meditation. And those same kind of sentiments come up. Oh, I'm not an artist, and maybe I can't draw a stick figure or whatever that looks like. I'm very adamant on making sure that we address whatever pressures we're feeling to create something that's going to sell for $1 million or create something that we're going to put in a museum. That's not the purpose. So, even in those instances, we're encouraging people to engage the senses. What do the brushes feel like on the canvas? What does the paint smell like? What are the different shades of the colors you're creating? What can you hear in the room? Do you resonate with the music that we're playing? Are you in conversation with people? Just really trying to encourage being present in the moment. And I feel that when we can do that and we're not thinking about the outcome of what the painting is going to be or what we want it to look like, and just make space for whatever the art is going to become, you can loosen up a little bit. You can drop the shoulders, take a deep breath, and relax into it. And I've been very fortunate to host it about 10 times now, I want to say, with some repeat folks who always give great feedback. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to be in community with people and see the different perspectives on art because art is what we say it is. It's beautiful because we say it is.
Oh. Yeah, we talk a lot about mindfulness on the podcast, and you're actually using this in your practice with your art. What kind of reactions and results are you seeing from folks that might not have been so familiar with the concept when they started with you?
Yeah. Something that I've seen consistently over the past year is that when I say we're going to meditate, either folks are all about it or they're very apprehensive. And the folks who are all about it are usually the folks who have practiced a little bit. They have some time practicing under their belt. And the folks who are usually apprehensive are the ones that said, well, I've tried it before. It doesn't work. My mind is still going crazy. I can't quiet the mind. I can't sit still. And so I've made it a point in my introduction to us practicing in letting folks know that the point of meditation, from my perspective and the way that I practice, is not necessarily to quiet the mind and make everything still. The point of the practice is to practice. And what we're practicing is just noticing. So we're noticing when the thoughts start to trail off and we start opening up those 14 tabs in our mind and start clicking through, right? Because our lives don't stop just because we want to sit and focus for a minute, which is natural and that's okay. The point in practicing is noticing when those things start to happen and then say, oh, okay, I'm going off track a little bit here. Let me bring it back to the present moment. And that's when we can anchor in the breath. We can anchor our senses. We can anchor if we're playing music in the background and come back to the present moment. And the thing that I stress right throughout the session and at the beginning of our meditation is that we're not judging ourselves for the experience of our mind trailing off or having a itch on the back of our neck that we want to scratch during meditation. It's okay, right? The practice is what it's going to be, and the practice is whatever we say it's going to be. So part of my practice is engaging in that artwork, and that's also why I love to share it so much.
Yeah, I've found there's a lot of misconceptions about what meditation is, and that puts a lot of people off because they don't really understand that you don't have to be sitting cross-legged, perfectly silent.
Right.
You can be meditating while you're walking.
Right.
And one of the keys that I think people really need to understand is that it's not about perfection. It's just about progress. You do what you can.
Right. And in whatever way that looks like to you. Right. So my meditative practice is when I'm engaging with artwork. I am focused. I'm noticing. I'm engaging my senses. My body is at peace. For other folks, that might be while they're exercising. For other folks, that might be a more traditional sitting down in silence. For some folks, that could be playing an instrument. And I think those are all the beautiful ways that we can express some form of creativity and connection. We just have to know, first of all, that we have permission to do that. And we have permission to not judge ourselves and expect perfection out of the experience. And two, we have permission to enjoy the experience, right? And then also saying we have permission to call this my meditative practice.
Yes, the practice is whatever you want it to be. I love that you mentioned meditating during exercise. There is an amazing book that I have read a couple of times. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the author's name because I won't get it correct. But the book is called Running with the Mind of Meditation. And the author is a Lama who runs marathons. and he talks about obtaining a meditative state while he's running.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, it's basically putting things in perspective. We talked about this a lot, as far as mindfulness and so on and so forth. But bottom line is, we have 60,000 thoughts a day in our minds, and there's no switch where you can turn off your head.
Right.
So it's going to happen, and it's all what your perspective and your outlook on life is. And obviously, we are bombarded with all kinds of different things, which you make crystal clear in your website as far as all the stuff that we're up against. And what mindfulness is all about is just taking a little bit of time out and doing it. And yes, realizing there's no such thing as perfection. I mean, we as human beings created that word perfection and judgment and all that other kind of stuff. And we're constantly bombarded with that as far as any story you want to hear on social media or anything else as far as good stuff, but mostly bad stuff. And so what this is just taking a time out from that and working on the person in the mirror who was created unconditionally from loving kindness. And that's where we came from, and that's where we're going from. Unconditional forgiveness and so on and so forth. Starting very importantly with that person in the mirror and just letting it flow from there, realizing that all we are talking about here, as you mentioned, is just awareness that you can do that stuff because life is always going to have its ups and downs. But mindfulness is just something that you can go to from time to time, and it can be as easy as just looking outside and just really seeing the joy in everything that's around us and seeing our creator in everything. And that's what it's all about. And it's a choice to do that. Again, it's not going to work 100% of the time, but now you know you can go to that a little bit piece by piece. And obviously you help people do that a lot, which is fantastic.
Right. And that's why we call it practice, because we're going to have so many opportunities to practice. And it's not about having this idea of, well, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You're practicing. And the same way that we wouldn't judge uh, or chastise a child for learning something the first time, we also can extend that to ourselves and not judge or chastise ourselves when we're trying to practice something. And I love that you mentioned loving kindness because that's one of my favorite meditations to do and to facilitate with folks. And the concept of loving kindness has shifted the way that I see the world. Right? If I'm genuinely wishing for everyone in the world to be happy, healthy, free of suffering, and safe, and I'm also extending those wishes to myself, the way that you move in the world changes. The way that you interact with people in your day to day changes. The way that you see the opportunities and the possibilities of the world also changes. So that's been a big part of my journey, also.
yeah. Now, of course, you and I met while you were working on your workbook.
Yes.
And I would love tell our listeners a little bit about what the workbook is and how you came up with the idea for it.
So the workbook is called 90 Days of Mindful Recovery, right? So there's that theme of me trying to meld all the pieces together again. And I got the idea while I was working at that treatment center. One of my coworkers and I were talking, and I got this idea because oftentimes when clients are leaving treatment facilities, at least in my experience, I haven't seen an opportunity for them to leave with a resource that keeps that momentum going. Outside of them going to outpatient treatment and whatever that might entail, or going back to their families and whatever that might entail, going to a sober house, what that might entail, I didn't see a resource that clients could take with them to continue the work that they had been doing so intensely in residential treatment. So what I did was created the workbook. It is 90 days of different prompts. Those are themed weekly. So one week might be on self love, another week might be on forgiveness, another week might be on compassion. There are weekly mindfulness exercises to engage in. So every 7 days of reflection, there will be a new mindfulness prompt. Um, And in the beginning of the book, what I also noticed was that a lot of clients needed to have some sort of education, support, or resource around finances. So within the 90-day book in the beginning, there are 3 months of calendars, or there's 3 monthly calendars, and then there are 3 monthly budgeting pages. So there's education and resource about what is budgeting, what is intentional budgeting, what do these different sections of the budget mean, and then there's space for them to write in their finances. There's also a page to gather important contacts and information. So for the pharmacy, the therapist, the psychiatrist, your doctor, you can put all those things in right there. If you have a sponsor, other important contacts, you can write it all down because a lot of times the folks that I was helping did not have access to a cell phone or laptop. So I thought it would be really important to have all of those things that you could keep in one book in one place. And then spread throughout the book, particularly in the beginning and the end, there's encouraging messages from me. There's a loving kindness prayer to wish them well out into the world, and it was a labor of love. The author circle definitely helped in giving me some resources and direction on where to go get these certain things that I needed and how to file certain things. And so from start to finish, it was a passion project, very much inspired by the clients I was helping.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I know you geared it towards your clients, but realistically,
Mhm.
this is something that can help anybody who's going through a trauma, who's dealing with difficult situations. The exercises in it are fairly universal in helping people recover.
Right. And I wrote it vaguely enough um on purpose that anyone in any kind of recovery could pick it up. And that could be recovery from a number of different disorders or recovery from burnout, recovery from emotional overwhelm, to your point. Um, yeah, that was an intentional move. And my hope is to get it in the hands of the people who could use that as a resource.
And of course, you're not stopping with the workbook. You have a deck of cards that you mentioned to me. Tell our listeners a little bit about what that's about.
Yeah, the deck of cards, I haven't named it yet, but essentially they are similar to oracle cards if you're familiar, which is about what is it? 3 inches by 5 inches, I think. And there is artwork on the front that I've designed digitally. Um and on the back there is a description of a mindfulness term or a word. Then there is a prompt, there's a question, and then there's space actually on the card to reflect on that question. And the intention with these cards are for therapists, counselors, mental health professionals to use at the end of sessions. Wrapping up a session with a client can sometimes feel very uh, let's say awkward. Sometimes it can be a challenge to wrap up a session, especially if it was a very emotional or a heavy session, to say, "Okay, well your hour's up, you got to go," which is a flaw in our system, right? To only allocate 60 minutes if that to process emotional things or whatever the client needs to process. But in the case that a therapist would like, or a therapist or a helping professional would like an assist in wrapping up those sessions, I've created these cards. A client can pick one, and the last few minutes can be spent discussing what their card was, reflecting on the question that's on the back. Um, and then maybe the client can take it home, see what is inspired by that, and come back to next session, say, "Oh, well, what did you think about the card and how did the card um impact you towards or over this past week or 2 weeks," or however long it takes them to come back to session.
Nice. So, yeah, you're creating these brand new tools. I mean, certainly you're applying your creativity to this, but you've really got it focused on helping people. So,
Yeah.
when you see somebody using your workbook or when you're working on the cards, how does that make you feel?
Oh, I feel fulfilled. I feel fulfilled just knowing that I want to share what I experience. Um I see, and I've always been this way since I was a kid. I see there's a gap somewhere and I say, "Oh, I know how we can fix that." Or, "Oh, I have an idea on how we can do that." I worked at a daycare once and I had an idea to start a transportation company because I noticed some parents they couldn't drop their children off on time. One, because our parking lot was so small and you had to wait for a spot. But two, you know, people have lives. And so to drop your children off during these 30 minutes when you have to go across town to work or in another town to work. So I had an idea to start a transportation company to go around and pick up the kids and try to work it all out. It never came to fruition, but that's an example of, me trying to fit in somewhere and solve a problem. And actually, I think that's one of my strengths and something I take a lot of pride in. I can pick up on areas that need um some more attention and places where we could fill in the gap, and then I apply very realistic, feasible solutions to that. Um, and it's worked out in my favor, and now the way that I get to do it autonomously is through my creativity and creating things and hopefully making a difference.
Yeah. I'm gonna say you haven't created that transportation program yet
Maybe.
because we've had this conversation prior to the podcast, but you actually have pieces of paper with loads of different goals that you intend to, go through.
I do. I do. Well, not more than pieces of paper. I have and this may be a little embarrassing to say, I have notebooks. I have the notes app in my phone. I have random pieces of paper. I have started projects in Canva. I have ideas written on vision boards that are hanging up on my walls. They're written everywhere. They're scattered everywhere. And I love all of my ideas and I want all of them to come true because they're realistic and and feasible. And, the world is my oyster. So why not?
Absolutely. So we are coming up at the end of our time. So for those listeners that may want more information, how can they find out about Heart Space and what you do?
Absolutely. So if you are interested in the heart space art and wellness or the heart space counseling, you can go to www.theheartspaceonline.com. That is my website. And I try to keep it as up to date as possible. You can also order the workbook through there. Bulk orders of 25 or more books get a discount. So if you are interested in that, you can send me an email with bulk order in the subject line
And where would they send the email?
to the email is info at theheartspaceonline.com.
Fantastic. Well, it's been fantastic having you here. Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway from this week?
Wow, this has been a wonderful journey today, and that's what life is. Life is a journey, and basically, you talk about creativity and mindfulness. Eric and I did a podcast a few months ago about developing habits, positive habits, and it all starts with the why. And I highly encourage everybody to go to your website, if nothing else, but just to read what you've done in your bio. It says, I am committed to the everlasting pursuit of freedom and joy in a world too often consumed by individualism, power, hierarchies, economic turmoil, and conflict.
Mhm.
Basically, you reference yourself as being a counterbalance, a place of care, creativity, and healing. Basically, the message here is if that's something that sounds good to you, just get started on it and do something about it because you can. And if you start putting that priority in your mind and kind of overwhelm the 60,000 negative thoughts or whatever that you have a day, starting with that, it's not hard to develop a practice. And yeah, it's never going to be perfect, just like you're saying. I mean, I have stuff all over the place too, and I have for a lot longer than you have because I'm old. But it's just get going on it. Nothing is perfect, but you are going to enjoy life a whole lot more just by being mindful and creative. So it's
Mhm.
so cool having you on today.
Thank you. I think that was a beautiful summary. Yes, absolutely.
Now, I think for me, the big takeaways, first of all, is the importance of mindfulness and that it's not about perfection. It's just about practicing. And the more you can do it, the better you'll get at it. And you have the creative freedom to make it your own. You don't have to do mindfulness the way somebody else does it. You find what works for you. And the fact that you've been able to merge this with your own artistic ability, your own creativity, and focus that on helping others is absolutely amazing. So I'm so glad you could come on today. It's been great having you. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at exvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.